everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and welcome to the 5th day of the LCS Proving Ground Circuit Qualifier. Last week was an absolute banger, so let's have a look at the video to see what you might have missed out on.
Dishing out the damage on the turret. Over the side goes Yukino. They look for the fight. That's a big engage. And the final chapter. I think it's the end of the book on this game. Down goes Eclipse and everyone but Corica. Never mind as Doxa takes him down.
Two members rooted up, and now Baco wants to engage, but a nice flash out from Raheen, and Baco will fall first. Raheen will be the next to follow here, but now Perry is trapped underneath the tower. Draco dashes in with 1 HP and takes down Minway, and now 300. They have the numbers advantage of the health bars, maybe not on their side. A triple kill in for Town, and now Leo will fall as well, potentially. Aaron gonna try to lock down the autos. Leo is trying to turn it. He gets the double, and finally Town finishes it off.
Bottom side, and he's looking for another gank right now. No flashes.
Not on a ward, but he's just gonna flash forward. Deep Learning is so low, and that is first blood picked up for the young jungler of Jake's Kittens, and that's a double as well.
Going to just straight up hard carry.
Yeah, certainly Young is going to be more of a facilitator this game. Zamudo looking for a kill.
Oh, to scorch the flames, burn him alive. What a play! The ignite.
Might need to come into this. The chase down's going to happen here.
Just going.
The Cyclone. Ayakura going to get isolated from the rest of the team, and I don't know, without a flash, you are going absolutely nowhere. The CC chain is huge. The double kill for Faisal. They set it up, and keep your eyes on Eclipse. He's trying for the last second play. City Witty is keeping them. There's nobody in the base. It's on to the Nexus.
Wait,
they
he
win
actually
the
does
fight,
it. He's going to do
they're
it.
going to lose the game. Eclipse is going to do it. Knows exactly what is happening here. Gonna come down to the smite fight, into the pit he goes.
Oh,
and
he can't
I don't
do it.
think he can get it. It's gonna get secured up the hostile.
Oh, APA,
It might be aggro, but it doesn't matter. Meanwhile, in the mid, they're going for the back door. The second time today, we're seeing it, and I do believe Maryville can take the Nexus for the win.
Oh my god. That bit of extra damage, you get a lot of extra gold.
Dash
Sniper
in charge.
He's in a lot of trouble.
Oh, yeah, a lot. I don't know what he's going to do to try and get the outplay here. They don't want to aggro it, and my goodness, he's actually even able to get the knock-up on this one, and dashing and diving and dodging. Oh! He gets away with it! Sniper! And now the follow-through for Fnatic. It's 2 free.
Sheesh! What a...
It's not an understatement if I say that last week's games have aged me by a total of 10 years. The amount of just the changes in the BPM were incredibly insane. I'm Janiro, your host for today as well, and joining me today on the desk, we got Veteran, we got Daption as well. How are you doing?
I'm so excited to be on the analyst desk today, and I'm really excited to see everyone perform, showcase their talent, and really be able to show the world how good they are at the game.
Yeah, me too. I loved the video footage we just saw. Took me right back. We had some really exciting games last week, and I'm happy we're going to do it all again. Also, if I knew we were going to open with pure cinema, I would have worn my suit.
Well, Suit, that's missing from your side, Veteran, but Daption, you're new here. First of all, welcome. Lovely to have you on the desk. Would you mind introducing yourself? What's with the hats? What's with the sunglasses? Give us a little bit of a rundown.
Well, I got approached by one of the assistant producers at the Unified organization, and I was told that, since we are in the summer months, that I should be wearing a summer costume. And one of the biggest things that I like to do in the summer is to just go out to the beach and just lay down, relax, and just really be able to think about what I'm going to be doing for the rest of the week. And it's one of the easiest things to do as a player, and just going out with your friends and whatnot. And this is basically what I end up looking like, right? Sitting under an umbrella and just sitting down, relaxing, sitting in front of the beach. And I'm actually going to be doing that in 2 weeks. So yeah, that's
nice.
basically what my costume's like.
Yeah, looking good, and feeling super excited about the games that we have today. You know, this is the PGCQ tournament, so teams here, the last day of the group stage, they're fighting for that spot in playoffs, they're fighting for those points to actually qualify for the LCS Proving Grounds, and they have a lot to prove if they want to make it so far. So let's start off by having a look at a Group A specifically, as well as Group B. I'm gonna ask you the question here first, Veteran. Considering the teams who've made it out this far, is this what you expected when we just started?
There've definitely been upsets on my part now. But I'm really glad to see the results as has been. And yeah, I think every single team that made it here absolutely deserves to have made it this far, 100%. Very impressed by Darkwing's on 100 Thieves next. I didn't expect him to be anywhere near as good as he was. I think APA is incredibly strong, but he was really showing up.
Adaption, I'm going to give you Group C and Group D. We have an overview for those as well. And my question here is exactly the same. Are these the teams that you expected to be stepping up to the plate? Are there a couple of upsets thrown in the mix, or is this pretty much what you wanted to see?
Well, for me, I'm a very big fan of 300, so to see them drop in this tournament, it's a little bit of a letdown. But obviously, there's always going to be ups and downs in teams. So although it's not something that I like to see, it's definitely I see the teams that are moving on ahead to put in the effort and really just push their envelope. And I'm really happy to see how the tournament is going right now.
Yeah, the tournament is well on its way, and as we mentioned already, we have a couple of teams that have made it into the playoffs already, 300X being one of them. We also have AE Esports, Jake Skittens, and we also got the team of EG Prodigies. Now, we're still going to be determining a couple more tonight, specifically on the stream here. We have Maryville University against Cincinnati Fear. Then we also have Team Pending versus CLG Fate to see which ones of these teams are going to be heading into those playoffs. And you know, these teams, as you mentioned yourself, Daption, they've really shown us exactly what they're made of. They've shown us what they're capable of. They've really highlighted their strengths and maybe even their weaknesses in some of these cases specifically, especially I think last week when we saw 100 Thieves specifically. I think that was one of those games where maybe not everybody expected it to go all the way to 3 maps, and they were 40-minute games. The same when we saw the CLG Faith versus 300. That was also one of those teams where, if we remember correctly, everyone of predictions was for 300. So, you know, what can we expect from the matchups today? Let's start off with the first matchup, Maryville University versus Cincinnati Fear. Looking at the predictions from the casters, what do you think is going to happen specifically with this matchup, Veteran?
So, I love it when we have a rematch, but this time we have it under vastly different circumstances. And I do think those circumstances matter here, because for me, Fear is a team that likes to pick compositions that are very good at going in on your misplays, on your missteps, whereas Maryville try to win games in rather controlled manners by PCQ standards. And now there's the question of, have they been playing too much League of Legends? They've had a lot of success elsewhere in other tournaments, but could they come in a bit more fatigued? They dropped a game last time, and the game that they dropped last time was on them. It was on their overextension. It was beautifully capitalized on by Fear, but if they're in a mental state where they may make more of these errors, Fear could get the upsets that they need to end up taking the whole series. This could be major. I have no doubt that Maryville are an incredibly strong team when they are at their peak, and they should be able to take a series off of Fear, and I'm still going to bet on them. But this is definitely a circumstance where I think Fear could just take it all back.
And Daption, the second game here tonight is going to be Team Pending versus CLG Faith. How are you expecting that game to be playing out, maybe in a couple of sentences?
Basically, CLG, I haven't been faithful, and I'm very sorry about that. But for CLG this time around, I feel like they're definitely going to be able to push through and show Team Pending that they're the better team. And a lot of the players on Team Pending, 3 out of 5, I believe, are players that played in the collegiate series yesterday. And maybe that's their confidence boost, or maybe that's what's going to cause them to play a little bit worse because they're a little bit tired, obviously. And I think that CLG, if they, get to pull through in this match, it'll be a very big showing for everyone on that team.
Well, Daption on the Path to LCS stream today, we have AUE Ginger Turmeric versus a third party. We also have Taco Gaming versus Supernova. If you have to choose between these two games, which one are you expecting to be the biggest banger of them all?
I think Taco Gaming, absolutely, because I have a lot of players on that team that I really look up to. Definitely City Witty coming out with the mechanical outplays. I definitely feel like he's going to be the top jungler to be looked at for this next Academy split. And a lot of the players, for example, Eclipse coming out of Dignitas Academy, is really just ready to showcase his talent and, you know, get back into that Academy atmosphere environment. And yeah, I want to see them win.
You want to see them win. You know what? We want to see everybody win. Unfortunately, that's not going to be the case, as we're going to be saying goodbye to a couple of teams here today. But let's just get right into the casters predictions for today specifically. As you guys saw just now on the graphics, there are going to be 4 matches happening today. So if you have to have 2 tabs open to catch up on all the action, make sure to do so. We have a couple of anomalies, a couple of outliers here for the first game, where we have Maryville University versus Cincinnati Fear. 2 are going for Cincinnati, but let's get into the nitty-gritty of this match specifically. Starting Veteran, let's talk about what is your overall opinion in regards of the way Cincinnati has played in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, they are certainly aggressive players, all right? They're definitely not scared to take a fight. But I do think that they are individually outmatched in this matchup. But they are a team that loves to play these burst-heavy, lockdown-based compositions, like, for example, Sketch on his Tristana, and if they are able to translate that aggression into a nice grouping in a scenario where their opponents aren't grouped properly, Sketch can actually pop off on that Tristana, and he can carry the rest of the team through with that. It's not necessarily a one-man show. You will also have Blaze, even if he's not necessarily doing well in lane against APA. He's also able to follow up on there, get the damage I needed to get those initial resets. They're able to play controlled in a defensive manner. There have been times where they've been pushed in towards tier 3 turrets and they've been able to be a threat. That's almost their comfort zone, which contrasts greatly with their opponents here, Maryville, right?
Yeah, and Daption, speaking of this contrast, speaking of the aggression coming out from Cincinnati, their drafts as well, what are you expecting to see from Maryville University, taking into consideration as well the fact that, you know, they haven't really had that successful run CLO last week. They just came back, as you mentioned to yourself, maybe a little bit of a jet lag coming in as well.
I think that mainly for this match, or in this series, I'm going to be looking for Maryville to be pushing the envelope in the top lane specifically, because the superstars of that team definitely look to be Niles and APA. And if you get to see, you know, that 5-man roam to top lane, like I see in Scrim sometimes, they're really going to be able to carry the game through the top lane and sometimes even through the mid lane. And APA is very mechanically talented on his mages, and I'd love to see him, you know, pop off and be able to carry the game from his, you know, perspective.
Yeah, and Veteran, are you expecting that top lane matchup to be as heavily weighted? We saw last week, specifically when Nile was playing the Malphite, it was impossible to get rid of him. They even ended up winning that game. There's the front line was so incredibly strong, and he was doing damage to the back line as well. I'm not sure what was going on there, but it happened anyway. So, Veteran, how important is this top lane matchup to you? Or is there another matchup? Maybe, you know, the jungle mid, maybe that bot lane pressure. Is that what we need to be looking out for?
I mean, I definitely think this set of games can be decided by topside, but I think topside has to account for APA as well. Because APA, even though a lot of the meta of this tournament has been about mages, and APA's even moved into those mages, he is, at his core, almost like a Doing light player, where he plays very heavily for map control. His Aurelion Soul is what made him famous, and in a meta where stuff like Talia mid is very, very strong, he can use that to create a map scenario where maybe you can't go for those aggressive plays topside, where Niles becomes even more of a, no pun intended, rock than he already is. APA, even though I'd think about topside a lot, I will definitely think about it in context of the mid lane matchup as well. I'm interested to see what APA brings out, because this isn't his only playstyle anymore. The last time that these two guys came together, even when APA was in unfavorable matchups like the Lucian versus Victor, he was winning lane with that. So he's clearly got other tools in his kit, but if these guys are fatigued, just having a guy pressuring the map on all sides, we've seen this all over the world, that can be enough to swing. And so for me, APA is that guy. Nulls may be the beneficiary, though, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Daption, would you say that APA is definitely the player of the match that we need to be keeping our eyes on for this first game? Do you think there's other individuals that can really tip the balance, considering, that fatigue that we spoke about a couple of times, and just mentally how this team might not be in the position where they might want to be?
I think mostly for the rest of the Maryville team, someone that I'm really excited to look at is definitely Zyko, as I believe that he's going to be playing. He was previously he's played on a team with Tactical in a 2019 version of Supernova, and I really have been believing in him as a player ever since I saw him come into the competitive scene. And if he's able to support his team to the maximum potential, I'd like to see him maybe coming top lane and really just showing that he's the better support in this matchup. And obviously that's an ego thing, but it's something that I want to see in supports, being able to prove to the enemy that I'm the better support and that I'm able to carry the game from my support point of view.
Yeah, we saw this last week as well, specifically Daption, with supports being picked that either had a really big impact on those team fights, where we saw the Renatas coming through, or there's also a lot of roaming supports where the supports are really trying to give an advantage towards those skirmishes that were happening in the bot side jungle for that mid lane and jungler as well. What support champ specifically do you think is just going to be either a permaban or basically a pick or ban for either one of these teams, really?
I mean, I think for Cincinnati Fear, definitely the champion Lulu comes to mind, because they like to neutralize a lot of the fights and try to prevent a lot of the disasters from happening. But I think from Maryville's side, for support champions, definitely Leon Donaldis, the things that, make you go in, make you start a fight. I think if Zyko is able to, utilize his potential on those champions, that they're going to come out victorious.
I mean, mostly when we've seen this particular champion I'm going to name play, this ended up going in towards ADC, but if we're going to talk about supports, I think Senna absolutely has to be a priority here. And in fact has been something that Fear have used in the past. Whether it ends up being flexed into support or ADC, I think just its presence in the bot lane will enable even these top side plays, and especially this heavy grouping roaming playstyle that both teams like to play. I'd also be quite interested to see if Maryville are allowed to unlock Zyko for topside plays, because Sketch likes to play very, very aggressive in bot lane, and it's difficult to get the timing you can versus that kind of a player.
Yeah, Senna AD carry is something we saw last week. Maybe not as successful as we might have hoped her to be in that bot lane. Found more success on the support role, to be completely honest. But we'll see. However, I do have to ask you guys, after all this talk and this big brain analysis that you brought here tonight, I want to ask you, Daption, first. Do you have a prediction for this game?
For the Cincinnati Fear versus Maryville prediction, I think that I'm going to have to go with a 2-1 for, I believe it is Cincinnati Fear.
Okay.
Sorry, 2-0 for Cincinnati Fear. And that's just because I think that Brady is going to be able to, put in those aggressive bot lane picks and really able to shine on that and carry the game from his point of view. And unfortunately, I think for MU it's going to be a little harder because of the jet lag and whatnot. And yeah, those are the reasons for my.
Well, Veteran, do you agree with this prediction, or do you have one of your own?
Look, I've talked a lot about the potential fatigue of Maryville, but you know what really wakes someone up? The sweet, sweet smell of revenge. I think Maryville want to prove that this isn't a team that they drop games to, and they want to come in and smash them as hard as they possibly can, and I believe in them to do so. Maryville 2-0.
Okay, Maryville 2-0 is going to be one from my side as well, just because I saw the absolute incredible performance last week. They really gave 100x a run for their money, and they made them push for those wins. So I think, 2-0 is not something to be putting your nose up. But before we end this, I'm going to have to ask you guys whether or not you'll be able to guess which player from the exact same team put down Faker as the famous celebrity that they want to be playing League of Legends with. Veteran, I'm going to give you the first chance to answer the question.
All of them? This is everyone but the mid laner who would have to roll swap. There you go.
Okay, fair enough, Daption. Well, you're Jappy at this one.
Okay, I might be cheating a little bit, but I think I remember
no.
this specific question being shown somewhere. I don't know if it was shown somewhere or I remember
You did your
it from-
homework.
yeah, maybe from someone answering it, but I think it's either Draco or Town, because those are the two ones that come to mind, you know?
Yes, you are absolutely correct. It was CLG, Faith, Draco, and Town. They're the ones who wanted to play League of Legends with Faker. So you definitely did your homework. Thank you so much for that. You get the first point for this evening. Congratulations. A round of applause for you. We got the casters, Grapes, and Rebel Fox tonight, ready to bring you guys the action once again. Guys, take it away.
Thank you very much, Janiro. Oh my god, Rebel, fresh from vacation. You're in LA doing the college championships. Now you're here doing Proving Grounds. I mean, how was it? How's everything doing? Oh, Rebel, still on the airport Wi-Fi or something? Can we hear you? We are having some issues getting Rebel in here, but I think Rebel, can we hear you now? Yes. Ooh.
Okay, so there's a few things that could bring me home from a vacation like that, right? The first being League of Legends. You can tempt me with Maryville games. Apparently, I'm not allowed to avoid this team ever when it comes to casting in the slightest, right?
Never.
The only other thing that can pull me away from a vacation is the promise of getting a fantastic cast with Andrew, Grapes from the northeastern version of France. How? Because you're champagne, my friend. I love drinking up our casts together.
I appreciate that very much. And last time we were here on the cast together was for some collegiate teams as well. Now we're back. Got Maryville University up against the Cincinnati Fear in what was a rematch of the first week of the Proving Ground Circuit Qualifier group stage. But Dean, a lot of things have happened since these teams last faced off, specifically that collegiate championship that you were just at this weekend.
Yeah, it was sad for all of us in the sense that we're there for Maryville because they had a terrifying loss to USD. Nonetheless, it was an amazing experience for all of them, and I know that they are prepared and ready for today, and they definitely want a vengeance match. I know Veteran had the point of being like, yeah, they're going to want a vengeance. They're going to want to be able to take a strike back at somebody. Last week, they lost to 100 Thieves in a very close 2-1. They almost took it at a 2-0, lost that second game by a hair, and then, of course, losing to UST. Yeah, this team's coming out mad. I wouldn't want to be Fear in this matchup right now.
Yeah, it seems like a lot has been just out of reach for Maryville over the past couple of weeks. Nearly taking down 100 next, nearly getting to the collegiate finals here just a couple of days ago. But now all the players hopefully have had a couple of days to kind of reset their mentals, get ready to try and make their push into the top 8. But for the side of Cincinnati Fear, you know, they're running hot, just coming off a victory against DK Crew, now looking to try and get a little bit of revenge themselves. And I think, you know, when we're taking a look at this team and how they end up matching up against each other, there's a lot of really good players here for Fear that are really looking to step up to try and make that playoff push.
Yeah, when they played against Maryville just last week, one of the biggest things that happened was that they had individual performances that were quite good. I think Blaze stepped up during the course of the series, and Trickster, especially in game number 1, was really, really good. Dragoon as well had all this gold thrust into his pocket. They were trading it for the other side of the map and was able to full carry fights off the back of it, which I think was kind of astonishing that he was able to kind of thrust his team onto his back like that. But then afterwards, the team kind of fell apart. Maryville was able to bring it together for games 2 and 3, kind of make the reverse sweep happen. And so this week, I want to see the complete game plan. I want to see what Fear has actually got. To me, I think you put it best. We talked about this right before stream started. It seems like they're playing less than what we would expect them to, less than the sum of their parts, because we know they've got more than talented players capable of doing a lot of things. I want to see them really show it off today, because this is their last chance, right? Like, one of these two teams, unfortunately, is going to get dropped out of the tournament. I think they're both fantastic teams, but unfortunately, the end of the road for one of them. So now it's do or die time.
Yeah, a lot of people call this Group A here the group of death in the PGCQ just because of all the strong teams that are here. And for Cincinnati Fear, I mean, these are all players that had significant success in the last split in the spring, 3 of the 5 together on No Team, which won the second Proving Ground Circuit Qualifier. And, you know, the other 2 players that are here that joined them alongside them onto this roster, Trickster, as you mentioned, Rebel, who was part of Taco Gaming, who finished 2nd in that tournament. And, of course, Daption, friend of the desk's former 80 carry partner in Sketch Streams down in the bot lane. So these are definitely really capable players, and really excited to see if they have what it takes against, again, a team that, like Maryville, that has, you know, had a lot of practice together. The only question is, you know, is are they tired? Is the fatigue there? And are they ready to really push it once again, pedal to the metal for what seems like the third or fourth time in a row?
You no longer call this the group of I think we're on a crew being out now. Like the real threat is gone. We don't have to
Yeah,
worry as
true.
much anymore, right? Like that's the banana slamma is taken out of the equation, so we don't have to worry about it nearly as much. It's a lot more interesting now. I wonder what adaptation Fear has. First off, everybody. First off, we're delayed by about 15 minutes. Cincinnati Fear needed that in order to make sure that they were in competitive today, but because of that, they lose all 5 of their first bans. So Maryville starts here on red side. They selected it, and they lose their first 3 bans. My apologies. So first round bans gone for Cincinnati Fear. That's going to be painful. Why? I mean, how many times have we seen Gangplank taken off the table? Talia for APA. He was playing that champion even before it was disgusting, and now still really, really good. They're definitely getting some of their best champions here on this rotation.
Well, Rebel, I can answer that question for you. Gangplank has been banned every single time Maryville has taken to the Rift in the Proving Ground Circuit qualifier so far in the summer split. So not having that opportunity is going to be up for some pretty interesting draft considerations for the Cincinnati Fear. Of course, Dragoon is a proficient Gangplank player himself, so could end up selecting it on that B1, but there's just so many other picks that this Maryville lineup can go for. Things like the Nico, the Victor, or the Cassiopeia for APA, as well as other picks across the Rift like the Karma that has been working so well for them down in the bottom lane. So the loss of these first 3 really signify that Maryville will be able to get a lot of what they want, at least in the first rotation.
The biggest thing to me is trying to figure out what you're going to B1 here, because Fear, they also lose 3 bans, right? Maryville is going to target ban as much as they can because they know power is going to slip through no matter what the circumstance. It's a question of what you take. If you take Gangplank, what does Niles have? Because I don't think you're taking a mid laner, right? Like, you don't take Talia away because APA's got Nico, he's got Cass, he's got Victor, he's got Syndra, he's got Lucian, he's got a million champions to play. So you go, you take the Gangplank away from Niles, or you take the Lucian away from Azog or APA, and you put it in hands of Sketch, and I think that's a superior tactic here. And I wonder if Maryville picks up on that and actually bans out the Lucian here on the 3rd pick to force them into a situation where, like, they're either taking Gangplank, and then you get a counter pick for it, or you're getting Gangplank, and then you have Niles Gangplank. In that game, we might just go to game 2. We might actually just, like, cut out the footage.
Just
I don't know what
cut
to
the
do
tape, just send it to the desk again to break it down. So Veteran, what happened in that game? Well, they got Gangplank, and so that we'll see what ends up happening here. Again, still the options here for the Cincinnati Fear. We're gonna see what Maryville decide to take away with their final ban on the first rotation. So far, a lot of topside focus, Dragoon champions to say the least in the Darius and the Wukong. Also a Trickster pick in the jungle for the Monkey King, but still a lot of options, a lot of target bans, specifically maybe down in the bot lane towards Sketch.
It's interesting. That's something else we want to see in this entire tournament right now. It seems like Cincinnati Fear has had kind of a rough go of it when it comes to transitioning out of an early game that they're not in an advantage with, right? Like when Trickster's ahead, when Blaze is ahead, when Dragoon is ahead, when they have this gold advantage and they're able to standard fight, they're doing fine, right? Like that's pretty good. The problem is when they fall behind, it feels like they don't have great ways of actually turning a game completely on its head. Sketch was a really good team fighter last split. Damage numbers aren't quite there this split. So what we're looking for is, okay, can Sketch step up today? I think Sketch is the one we're looking at, is again, not only the partner of our Desker, but also is just somebody that, like, we know is incredibly talented. We know we want them to be doing a lot more. And so Sketch, I think, stepping up today would be huge to allow Fear a lot more versatility in what they do today.
Yeah, and as you see, target towards the Senna down in the bot lane in the first ban phase. But for the Cincinnati Fear, not a Gangplank selection, not even a mid lane selection here for their team. They're going with the Lilia for Trickster, a pick that has worked for them pretty well in the past. The response from Maryville so far is this Karma pickup for Zyko, who is actually subbing in for the bot lane here for Maryville. Didn't play a whole lot during the Collegiate Championships this weekend, but is finally back to go alongside Azog on this mage pick.
And was really good in their series last week. I think he had some standout performances. I don't think there was anything specifically that like stood out as like he was amazing. He was the #1 in the tournament, absolutely. But Zyko definitely kind of made himself known in that series and definitely justified the spot of having him start last week. So now having the Karma helps out with the push for Azog, helps out in a lot of different situations. And of course they give away the Victor. Here was the thing. Fear last week, they had a problem with this Victor. That problem with the Victor was APA. APA had like 40 kills between 2 games. It was an absurd number of kills. They have to control him better, and I already like the adaptation. Azir on this patch got a lot better. You can do Leandry's build, you can poke away. It's a little easier in the earlier stage of the game. Make sure the Victor isn't as comfortable in the laning phase, and try to keep him from roaming top. Keep him from skirmishes where he picks up 2-3 kills and then just runs the map over.
Some more comfort over to Blaze as well. Has been a player that had stepped up in the past, but has, you know, maybe been considered, especially in this matchup against the Titan in the mid lane like APA, a position where Maryville can really try to target it and try to take down early on. And being on a pick that's pretty safe and can scale well into the late game like this Azir will be good for the Cincinnati Fear as they lock in the Yuumi as well for Plux. A lot of magic damage on both teams right now as Ezreal gets locked in around at the first phase.
Absolutely. I'm already really liking Maryville's composition. They've got great wave control bot lane, especially against the Yuumi on the bottom side of the map. They've got Ezreal to play safe, so Azal can go solo lane kind of and allow for Zyko to do this roaming play. Shady and Zyko are both very good at the strategy. They're both known Pyke players, and he's going to be able to take a more Pyke type approach to a game like this when they've got the shove of the Karma Ezreal on that bottom side against the Yuumi lane, which is humongous to think about. This does set up Trickster, especially for like an AD jungler, if he wants to play something akin to like Olaf, or if he wants to play his Kayn, something that's super special, because you can pocket it with the Yuumi, which I think is what they're trying to set up here as much as possible with like the AP. If that Lilia is going to be going into the jungle, or if it's going to be going into top lane, I'm still curious. I'm keeping that in the back pocket because I'm like, that seems like a Dragoon champion, right? Playing the Lilia top lane. Yeah.
For sure. And especially with kind of the top lane bans that are kind of being thrown at Maryville right now. Things like that Ornn here for Niles. Gangplank surprisingly actually still hasn't really been a factor here in this draft. It seems like Maryville really focusing down on the bot lane here for Sketchstreams. The Tristan and the Jhin are two picks that he looks very, very good at every time he gets his hands on them. And we'll see what ends up going towards the other side. A bit of a disparity here as, you know, Maryville haven't selected their jungler yet, and Fear have not selected their bot laner.
And a lot of the comfortable ADCs taken off the pool as well. There's no Jhin, there's no Senna, there's no Tristana. So now Sketch is going to be pushed down a little bit further. Maybe it's the Kai'Sa. Seems like the most kind of standard pick to go in a situation like this. But with the Yuumi, again, that's going to yield for a lot of roaming potential from Zyko to kind of take over the map. So they're going to need something powerful in the jungle. I talked about this as we walked into the series with you before we started.
I believe there was a bit of a computer crash on the production side, but draft has concluded at this point, Rebel, and take a look at the picks that we've got on our screen.
Yeah, it was. It looks like I'm a little disappointed in MU saving the R5 for Jarvan. A little upset about that, but Fear made it up because they picked one of my favorite ADCs in the game, the Twitch into the bottom lane. I've heard and seen so much about how powerful this champion is in the bottom lane. I've seen people even say that he's like one of the best ADCs on the patch. Playing into Ezreal, absolutely amazing. It's one of my favorite matchups. It's so easy for Twitch to just sit inside this lane and kind of scale as much as he wants. He can also match roaming. If they drop waves, he can show up in mid lane at any point and try to ruin APA's nice victory record against Fear. So there's a lot of interesting stuff to go along with this bottom lane when you pair the Twitch alongside the Yuumi, especially that last chapter, getting hidden by the invisibility is really cool tech.
Yeah, a lot of cool stuff that can happen here in terms of like builds and also play styles for Sketch, who's once again on another new champion, flexing his pool just a little bit more with all the bans that Maryville was throwing at him here. But yeah, really excited to see this. I think Twitch has kind of started to rise in priority across North America. I believe Minui played it on the side of 300 just a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, how Sketchstreams ends up piloting this champion as we have finally loaded onto the Rift for the final day of the group stage of the Proving Ground Circuit Qualifier. Cincinnati Fear and Maryville taking it on to see who makes it into top 8.
Oh. Really big stakes here for both teams to be able to make it forward. You obviously, you talk about like top few teams being able to make it. Top 6, I think, are guaranteed, and then the next 4 have to play off. Maryville did it last split to try to get into Proving Grounds as one of the they're playing against the bottom 4 like academy teams as well. Yeah. And no one was able to make it out. In fact, Maryville was the only team to take a win in those games, trying to qualify for the tournament. Not even during the tournament, just before the tournament even started. The only person to take a game was Maryville, and so that's how tough that play-in really can be. Academy has really stepped up in terms of their like level of competitiveness over the last split or so. So that's not a place you want to be. This is a fantastic place to set yourself up to try to get into that top 6, so you don't have to worry. You fall out right here, you still get points, you're still going to be on the ladder, you still have a great chance to qualify for top 10, but man, it is a lot harder to try to qualify for top 6 and avoid that academy play-in.
Yeah, and I think I speak for both of these teams in the fact that they both believe that they are capable and deserving of that sort of top 6 spot. And only one of them can be in that advantageous spot, get to the quarterfinals here that will begin tomorrow. we'll just see how that ends up going. As the game starts and as the lanes kind of go and begin to acquiesce here, let's talk about the other two pickups here that we didn't get to mention while we were covering the draft. Dragoon on the Camille, Odd Orange on the Jarvan.
Yeah, so first off, Dragoon on the Camille is really big. I think Dragoon is an amazing team fighter, even on some of these fightery type champions. He did it on specifically the Gwen last week, and I anticipate him being able to do so again this week. Sketch took a lot of damage in that trade right there between Zyko.
Yeah, some Ezreal Karma things as well. Seems like Sketch going to just try to play this as safe as possible. Went for the 3 potion start as well as having that Yuumi, which is basically an additional potion that you get every couple of seconds to continue to top you off and make sure that you stay alive in this laning phase.
Until the mana's gone, at least. Yeah, so I have high faith for Dragoon. I think this is it's a preferred matchup. He saw the Gwen. He said, okay, I can play the Camille, but he also can play as a disruptor. You need somebody to be able to lock down the Ezreal to make sure that like he's not just dancing around in the back line, freely getting away. Yeah, you have like ways to CC, but they're kind of inconsistent, right? Like the Azir is probably never going to wall him. Very rare you're going to be able to get a Pebble onto him as the Lilia to be able to get the sleep. So that's probably your best way, is Dragoon being able to use the Hextech ultimatum. So I can appreciate that thing. And again, I'm a little upset by the Jarvan, but it's not necessarily a bad champion. It sets up all of this massive like damage that can come through from Maryville's composition. It just feels weird that they saved it all the way until R5. Must have just been a, hey, we need to figure out what we want to play compositionally, and this kind of fell into their laps.
Yeah, I feel like in general everybody on Maryville has comfort, but in terms of how the draft could have potentially worked out in terms of the way that they were able to just deny 3 bans away from Fear in the first rotation, seems like, you know, pretty similar stuff to even if they were, you know, banned up against throughout that. So we'll see how it ends up going. Of course, Odd Orange on the Jarvan, not a pickup that has been super popular with the likes of the durability patch. Jarvan, a very early game focused jungler, doesn't do a whole lot of damage come the late game, but going for an invade right here potentially.
I think you still get early game CC to work with. If you want to make dives happen, he has a lot of upfront damage, which is something that doesn't get talked about. Is yes, the damage was reduced, but if you're really trying to make a dive work, which is pretty hard on this patch, especially even after I think the tower nerfs went through, if they're not, my apologies, but diving is just harder in general on a patch like this when you've got the extra durability, and so having somebody with upfront damage and CC to start with at level 2, really, really nice for being able to shorten the amount of time it takes to dive champion. So maybe that's the other thought. Maybe Odd Orange wants to get really aggressive, wants to shut out one of these lanes very, very quickly inside of a game like this. I think that'd be a great idea to make sure that Dragoon doesn't get going.
Yeah, and speaking of this Jarvan and kind of the theme of the early game that we've been setting for Maryville for basically the entire year, with the likes of Jensen Go coming in, with Niles Odd Orange up at the top side, it seems like the early game is definitely something that Maryville likes to focus on, and I believe they have the pieces to kind of set up themselves for some early success here as well.
It's a curiosity. You often see they will either go very, very defensive or relatively defensive, at least in that regard, just not going for any plays that they don't need to reach for in an attempt to start stacking dragons. Feels like a possibility in this game because they've got scaling and they've got good team fight to kick off the game, plus bot priority. The alternative to that is, of course, just going for Rift Herald, trying to get that gold spiking very quickly. Playing against an Azir, playing against the Twitch, I think that's not a bad option either. If you can get Victor off into a good foot, again, he can one-shot a lot of these characters, even through the Yuumi healing, so it's a nice place to be. It feels like they have options in that regard, just being able to play out this composition however they see fit. They can team fight with it very quickly, level 6s are a very quick power spike, and they can grab up the dragon. Again, just having the Ezreal Karma on bottom side sets them up for this so nicely, so this is just the start to the game. At minimum, it does give them the first dragon. They can start that stacking mechanism and prevent Twitch or Blaze from really getting to that late game without them stopping them somehow from the dragon stack.
A nice little early advantage set up here for Maryville University as they will lock down that Infernal Dragon. Yeah, the damage will be nice, just especially considering all the champions that do so much damage across all teams here. I feel like there's so many carry threats on each of these teams, and just kind of going to be people one-shotting each other once we get into the late game.
Definitely possible. I always like to see Twitch just pop out of invisibility. It brings to mind the Reckless clip where he almost killed Pobelter, but then it was a tragedy had struck. Yeah, and then he didn't. Things did not go well. Now, who did get the last laugh? I don't want to answer that. I'm an NA fan, so
we are NA fans here.
We are NA fans here, so we won't talk about what happened in that group. We don't talk about that anymore. But what we will talk about is that potential in the later stages.
Niles with the ultimate advantage, but actually Dragoon will get the upper hand. First blood for the Camille. Cincinnati Fear starting off right.
Miniature Cho'Gath ultimate didn't even need the level 6 to come through. Was able to get the better of this matchup. Both ignites dropped right there. Felt like Niles was just a little bit of damage off. I think he was one auto attack maybe away from getting that solo kill against Dragoon, and he hit the level 6 first, so super close to actually making it work, but Dragoon on his own hitting the solo kill against Niles, setting up this this Camille pick that he grabbed for himself nicely to start off a game.
Really big stuff coming out from Dragoon, who has been a very consistent top laner, to say the least, through and throughout the past couple of years. Now with an early advantage, will be able to really contribute to that facilitator role in terms of just trying to lock down some of the squishier members on this Maryville team. That extra kill to accelerate really helps out.
And again, last week when they kind of popped off, a large part of that was Dragoon. It felt like Maryville was willing to give a bunch of gold to Dragoon on the Gwen last week in their first game, or 2 weeks ago, my apologies, in the first game. And the result of that was like they didn't anticipate Dragoon just full carrying the game, but then he did. And so in a situation like this, he's got the Camille, another option again for trying to assassinate the Ezreal in the back line, locking down APA, potentially one-shotting them when he gets the opportunity. Has a lot of agency if he continues to ramp up this gold advantage.
Really good stuff coming out from Dragoon. And I feel like for the Fear, there's a lot of pieces that we know can do such great things. It's just waiting for them to all finally click and come together. We saw a little bit of it against DK Crew. The team really just looked very strong there. And already kind of off to a decent start here. Tricks are going to get a nice little invade in. Dragoon gets the wave pushed in. It's already 800 gold in favor of them.
It is. Great way to kick off a game like this, being able to deny a little bit from other people and being able to get that first kill. Biggest question in the later stages, of course, is not only like how are you going to be able to use this gold advantage, because Maryville now has an advantage on dragon stacking. You can see Blaze and APA are in a little bit of a tussle.
I thought maybe Blaze was going to go for like some engage onto APA.
Yeah.
I don't think that was the correct call, and I think that getting out of there is probably the safest option here for Blaze. Can you just be able to get back to the mid lane rather safely here? We see a lot of free farming out of the mid laner so far. I feel like you were expecting APA and Blaze to be a little bit more out on the map, but just with the champions that are going on, not looking so good. But down in the bot lane, it is Sketch and Plux picking up a kill onto Azog.
I'm not sure if it was a result of everything. You can see every summoner spell basically burnt on both sides, and now in the jungle as well.
Oh, Odd Orange with a beautiful buffer to cancel out the sleep, and now forcing the flash out of Trickster. But the Jarvan's in a bit of a bad spot. There comes the shuffle, and Odd Orange will get locked down and taken out. Trickster finally getting some revenge in the jungle, 1v1, but here comes Niles and APA looking to do the damage. Trickster is the first to fall on the Cincinnati side, and now Niles is doing so much damage here on the front line. Dragoon goes down, and Blaze forced to run under his turret.
Oh no, okay, that's a kill already in the pocket of APA. So we'll start with Fear, who were able to get the solo kill, they get the kill on Lilia, they get the bottom lane play into their Yuumi as well, and that, like, it strikes across the map. That kind of came out of nowhere. All at once, this pressure just, like, it leveled. We get this breaking point where everything collapsed at once, and it looked like Fear were in a great place to finally come through. Thing is, APA shows up to the fight after Odd Orange goes down. Niall shows up to the fight and Odd Orange goes down. And this is reminiscent of what happened last week. When skirmishes kept happening around the top side of the map, APA would show up, clean up kills, slowly get the Victor dollars to be able to upgrade all of his abilities, and became a menace in the game. And you know that has to be in the mind of Cincinnati Fear now. So, well, yes, they are ahead in gold, or they were ahead in gold. They're ahead in kills right now. But the kill went to the wrong person. Yeah. They don't want Victor to be powerful again.
We start the clock right now. We start the timer, the ticker in terms of how fed can APA get here. Finally going to get up at blue buff to just add a little bit more to that goal total. Ahead by a very significant margin here at the 10-minute mark.
Big. It's also a very quick Blade of the Rune King coming through from Twitch, reminiscent of like the Cogwell builds where you go like 4 items. You have like Blade of the Rune King, Rage Blade, all of those items before you even go for your Mythic, wanting to spike onto as fast as possible as we get a very nice assassin angle from Odd Orange.
Dragon's about to spawn. Flag and Drag is missed, and now Odd Orange actually taken pretty low, flashing away into the Cataclysm. Trickster goes, and now Niles has arrived from the top lane, looking to try and lock down the Deer. APA picks up another kill onto the counter, and the Dragon will be started up as well.
No. I've seen this one before. Graves!
We have 3 rematches today, and so far, we're 1 for 1 in terms of things going basically how they went in the last series right now. Maryville seemingly getting the better hand so far in the early game, especially in the hands of APA.
And this is how I like to see them use the Jarvan like this very quickly, just to set up for some of these skirmishes. It's a very fast champion to be able to do this with, just to start fighting as quick as you can. And right there, Odd Orange with a very nice hiding spot, was able to get Cataclysm out and set up APA for a roam, and another it's a layup kill at that point to be able to set him up for it. And Sketch, ooh, they're going for it.
Here we go. Here's the ultimate, the final hour doing a whole lot, and there he goes. Zyko going to fall for the first time, and Azog might do the same. Sketch is ticking so low, but the final auto won't come through. A 2v2 victory once again for the Fear.
And it's been amazing utilizing this Twitch uni combination of abilities, the invisibility plus the lost chapter. That combination has now led to, I think, 3 deaths on the bottom side for Maryville's bot lane. That is a problem brewing. Again, last time that they played this, they didn't have a super fed ADC. Sketch wasn't going crazy on a Twitch to be able to contest. Yes, APA could one-shot him, but he could also outrange him as we get a scuffle around Richter.
Fighting does not stop around here in this game. 1-for-1 so far as Odd Orange will fall for the likes of Dragoon, but the Rift Herald was actually picked up by, I believe, the True Shot Barrage of Azog. Maryville going to be able to pick that one up somehow, some way.
Nice 1-for-1, plus again, they get those 2 plates, so it's going to even up the gold in a game like this. It's a phenomenal way to start. Not to mention, APA is the one that grabbed it, so he's going to be able to get the plates. Great.
Look at the gold graph right here.
It's wild.
This is, I think, these are 2 teams that really like to make a lot of plays, go aggressive in the early game, and I think we're seeing it right here.
I can really appreciate it. Again, it's just like very, very combined skirmish-heavy stuff from Maryville, and anything else that can happen. Cincinnati's fear is struck in skirmishing, in just individual plays. They've been able to use their Twitch really effectively with the invisibility.
Blaze,
in the mid lane.
nice shuffle here.
That was
we'll see. It won't end up connecting,
stun.
but now APA is in between a rock and a hard place, but the rock might not be so hard. Trickster trying to jump forward with the Eep, and it looks like APA is going to get out safely. Now the question is, what can Maryville do on the other side? Cataclysm comes out from Odd Orange, and Trickster will surely go down. APA picks up kill number 3. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Sketch and Plux are starting to get a little bit fed here, Rebel.
It looks like the Ignite was burned. That time it was just the ultimate coming through from Twitch, so I'm not exactly sure what happened, but it seemed like Zyko's health bar just got absolutely destroyed. But again, mid lane, they are pumping as much as possible into this Victor, as much as possible into APA, which is a very valid strategy after what he did last week on 3 kills already. And again, it doesn't really matter how powerful your Twitch gets. In the late game, if Twitch is able to get out of vision and he's able to press the ultimate, he's able to push APA out of fights at minimum, if not kill him. But if APA gets in range, he will one-shot Sketch. That is, it's not an okay thing. You have to pay attention. It's going to be a little bit of a chess match between those 2's positioning just to make sure we're going to have enough. And Sketch goes right back in.
Yeah, here comes the final chapter. Once more, the flash to locate the stun, and that is Azog once again falling in the 2v2. Niles going to get one back up in the top side of the map, and it looks like Zyko will survive as well. But it seems like we're seeing a bit of a split map in terms of pressure here, Rebel. Cincinnati Fear definitely dominating bot lane while Maryville getting the upper hand on the top side.
Okay, biggest things about this, right? Niles is able to pick up a couple of kills in skirmishes. He's now ahead in that lane after the solo kill came through for Dragoon early. You got APA on 3 kills. They've been doing a good job setting them up. It's Sketch that is stepping up for this team. We talked about that beforehand. This team, when they're at a gold deficit, haven't found ways to be able to win games in the later stages. It feels like if they don't start snowballing very quickly, then usually they end up just falling to the wayside. But in this circumstance, it feels like they have a late game option.
Oh no. Flux, can you get away? Here comes the silence as well. Oh, APA.
No. Sketch burnt the heal. They burnt everything. Flux went into the jungle on his lonesome. The cat just getting hunted by the entirety of Maryville right there.
I know Travis is happy about that one. He's not a big fan of Yuumi.
Despises the Yuumi, okay.
Big stuff, though, coming out from Maryville. APA continuing to get more and more fed.
This is true. It's not good for Cincinnati Fear, but again, I'm very interested in what happens in the later stages. As APA, yeah, Dragoon's got to be very careful. He's down 2 levels at this point to APA's Victor. This Victor is insane. Yeah, we're gonna get an amazing team fight. I'm so excited for the 5-on-5s because again, Sketch feels like he's gonna be doing things like he did on EGP, where he has a boatload of damage, akin to what the Jinx was able to do, what the Zeri was able to do. Now on the hyper late game, Twitch. My question is, when does he go elsewhere? Right, like he's been doing it to Azog and Zyko all game. When does he go up and hit Niles with a gank like that? When does he go in and hit APA with a gank like that with Plux on top of it? It feels like that could work anywhere right now.
It could be right now, Rebel. Look at Sketch and Plux right now. Up in the top side of the map. Are going to get spotted out here by that plant that Niles tries to just spot him out there. So pretty good timing coming out from the Gwen, and it means that Sketch will have to wait to continue his carnage.
Sneak into mouse. That's what happened. Very, very nice. And unfortunately, also being spotted on that side of the map means that they are driven out of Dragon area, and Maryville's already on 2. I noted this early, which is that, again, Maryville sometimes like to play for very early leads. They've done some of the skirmishing stuff, but they've also been Dragon stacking, which means that they've got this as a win condition. The Cloud Soul, having the additional movement speed is going to be really helpful for making sure that you don't just get absolutely run down by Twitch and Lilia.
Oh, it looks like Fear want to try to fight to try to punish the objective to go down. Sleep lands in onto 3, but what can the turnaround around B. Look at Sketch right here. A huge shovel coming out from Blaze as well. And 2 for Maryville fall. That is APA and Zyko going down. And guess what, Rebel? It's 2 more kills on the Sketch.
And a gorgeous play right here from Cincinnati Fear. They punish the Dragon take. They force their way into the river. Maryville, I don't think, actually expecting Trickster to get that aggressive with the flash Q, being able to tag multiple members. And a good combination with Blaze means, again, Sketch, a huge beneficiary. Everything here. It feels, again, the chess match continues. Niles and APA, the 2 main damage dealers versus the Twitch, the hyper carry with all of the range in the world with a Yuumi pocketed on top of him. Makes for such interesting gameplay.
It feels like we're about to see the battle between the 2 Mafia bosses and all their minions. And the bosses right now are Sketch and their APA. So they're going to go after each other. The rest of the guys are going to kind of hit and slap each other back and forth a little bit. But when we talk about how this game is going to start unfolding as we get to the later stages, it's going to be basically who could do more damage, Sketch or APA.
Great question. And in the later stages, then we start paying attention to, I think it no longer becomes just about, like, Sketch does damage, APA does damage, Niles does damage, right? It becomes about what are these other characters, what are these other players doing, right? Like, Dragoon has the option to lock somebody in the Hextech Ultimatum, keep them in place, so they can't really avoid the Twitch as much as possible. It's good on Gwen, but again, she's got the immunity, so if you're hitting her with abilities from too far away, it just doesn't matter. So it's better for APA. You lock APA in place, and you kill him at the front end of a fight, you just have to deal with the Gwen at that point. And you've got a couple of melee carries, you've got Disengage with the Azir to be able to handle that when the time comes. There's interesting ways. And on the opposite foot, obviously, like, Odd Orange can go deep. He can go for a Cataclysm on top of the Twitch and try to force Sketch out the back of the fight, force him to flash out of a dangerous position where APA might be able to catch him with a Death Laser.
Off on the top side, though, it's continuing to be Maryville pushing the tempo here. Big ultimates coming out from Odd Orange, and the 2 aggressive plays out of the Cincinnati Fear get punished as Dragoon and Trickster go down.
4 of them are here right now. Ultimate's down from Odd Orange, but there's not that much committed outside of that, so they have more than enough time to be able to push this. I don't think they should be.
It would be pretty crazy if Sketch somehow turns this around to 2v4 with alongside Flux, but seems like just going to go for the Gromp instead. Maryville will take that top lane tier 2 turret and look to back as a unit.
Trying to pick stragglers, it looks like, but all of them are backing in the same row. Oh, does he catch somebody? Oh, Plux.
They were so slightly desynchronized that if that little Yuumi hit one single champion on Maryville, it would have been one of them going down for sure. But looks like they all escaped for now. Then now we see the Saints with about a 1,500 gold lead as we approach the 20-minute mark of this game. It is also Cloud's sole point for them crucially, and that last dragon can spawn in about 2 minutes.
Again, being able to use that movement speed to get on top of Sketch is something to pay attention to for both APA and Niles when the time comes. That fight right there, also, I want to give a little bit of props to Sketch, because there were options. I know it looked like they were just like, okay, we'll back in this rush. I think they were also trying to cut him off so that Blaze could get mid-tower, because Blaze got mid-tower in that exposure. You got to see the tail end of that. And maybe they could actually just walk from bot direct to mid to prevent Blaze from doing that if Twitch is not there. If Sketch and Flux are this massively threatening duo that could have killed anybody. As you can see, they're trading on the other side of the map as well. Twitch goes to top lane to pull that one. They do get that gold. But now an inner tower traded. Maryville's able to snag that on the other side of the map, split between a couple of members. It's still very valuable for pushing up that bot wave to set up for this next dragon in only a minute.
It feels like this is something that Maryville have done all season, whether it be in collegiate or in amateur, where they get a slight advantage on some of their members, and they basically just group everyone up and dare anybody to try and go and fight them. You see them doing that to get the top tier 2, now they got the bot tier 2, and now you have the whole squad ready to try and take down this Cloud Soul.
Shifting into playing into a smaller portion of the map usually means you can consolidate your strength a lot better. It means also more members are there when the time comes. If you're playing cross-map without teleport, it's pretty bad. If you have teleport, you can do it now with 3 members on Maryville, but you're going to see them walking around with at least 4 members together, especially Zyko is going to be in that group just to make sure nobody gets assassinated by an invisible Twitch coming out of nowhere. And it's worked a couple of times. They use the Azir Tower here actually to hold this so that they can keep this wave shoved up. But Maryville just says, we're just going to run for the river. And that's exactly what they do. So now they just have to worry about Sketch entering now. Dragoon's half health to start. Ooh!
Oh, nice 2-man swirl seed into the Lilting Lullaby. Is going to come out. Odd Orange with a nice engage with the Cataclysm. But watch Dragoon trying to lock down APA here with the ultimatum. But he will be the first casualty. It will be a 2-for-1 so far as Sketch falls. And that means Fear have no more damage. Trickster will surely go down as well as Plux. And it will be the ace secured for Maryville University.
Goodness. Last little second. Okay, that's going to be the ace coming through from Maryville. Fantastic work from them. And it's, again, the chess match of not even worrying about the damage dealers. We're focusing on what every other player is doing in this game. Orange immediately jumps on top of Sketch in the back. Like, as soon as he shows, that is an immediate Cataclysm. So that you can set up for Niles jumping in, for Azog putting in a little bit of damage as well, and for everybody else to pile on top to make sure that the Twitch is dead. Because once the Twitch is dead, they are out of damage. There's no one really to carry the fight from that point. You can see Blaze isn't really quite to that point yet. He's also gone a little bit more defensive with his itemization. It really is the Sketch show right now in terms of damage at the moment for Fear, and I love that Maryville has identified that, and they are aggressing against it as fast as they can, because now APA wasn't even needed there. He barely hit, I think, if at all, Sketch during the course of that fight, and it still led to a very convincing win.
And that's the difference between the main engages here for Cincinnati Fear and Maryville. Orange on the Jarvan can lock down these multiple members and have everybody else try to collapse on top of him. Cincinnati Fear, they have Dragoon. They have the single target engage. They tried to lock down APA, but with Orange going for the aggressive play as well with the Cataclysm, nobody else was really able to follow up, and APA versus Dragoon in a straight 1v1, well, definitely goes in favor of the victor, and that's kind of a fight on multiple fronts that worked Maryville's way, and they're going to continue to push the pace. There's a Cataclysm coming out once again, as Trickster is surely to fall. Niles dominating now on the Gwen, as with the jungler down to 22 minutes, Maryville might be looking for a Baron.
See, I really love this whole situation because it's just information overload coming through from Maryville. That one word under the red buff, I think, caught Sketch ganking the red, and Camille was showing bot lane, so they TP immediately Azog into the mid lane. They flood into top quadrant. No one can be there if you're on Cincinnati Fear. Nobody. Now they got to fight a disadvantaged fight. If you have a powerful Twitch, Baron almost certainly is going to Maryville one way or another.
Dragoon's going to have to go for the engage. Baron is ticking so low. Will be secured by the Orange. Blaze and Dragoon up in the front side, and Sketch is going to take down the Orange. Now stuck in a 2v4. What can this Twitch do? APA running down the mouse and snapping him down. It is 4 dead for the Fear, and it's going to be 5 very soon as Plux goes down nearly from the auto attack from Azog. It is another delayed ace picked up for the Saints. They're going to go back with the Baron buff in their hands.
And again, really spectacular stuff from everyone on Maryville. They're doing their jobs properly, but really, really huge props to the side of Orange. Orange is doing an amazing job every single fight, getting in the face of Sketch so he can't step up, can't put damage into the rest of this team, and nobody is dying in the grand scheme of things. Orange is, because he's taking the brunt of the Twitch damage at the front of the fight, but you are perfectly capable of taking that trade if you are Maryville. They've done it now, I think, 2 fights in a row. Wouldn't be shocked to see them continue taking fights, especially now. 7k advantage. Your Ezreal's back in this game very heavily. That damage is definitely here. Niles is almost on 3 items with the Rabadons. He's definitely in play as well as this massive damage dealer. They've got more than enough to win out a game like this.
Really impressive stuff coming out from Maryville. You wonder, how they were taking that loss, being the favorites potentially to win CLOL and falling in the semifinals to the University of St. Thomas. But it seems like they're not really keeping their heads down right now, Rebel. They want to win, and they are showing it right here against a team that they have played previously. And with the Baron buff still up for about another 90 seconds or so, they're going to try to stack as much goals as they possibly can to make sure that this game 1 goes in their favor.
And even last week when they played 100 Thieves, again, it went down to the wire in that game number 2 that they almost won and took a 2-0 against the team that's projected to be the number 1 in the tournament, only to then lose in that reverse sweep where they ended up falling to 100 Thieves in the grand scheme of things. And they don't want to fall out of a tournament this fastly. They deserve to be here. They believe that 100%, and I believe them now.
Seems like a bit of a last-ditch effort here for the Fear. Here comes Dragoon and Blaze. They're going for the flank. They're going to lock down APA.
Huge.
Big knockouts coming through. And now Cincinnati Fear go 2 for 2. Niles and Sketch are still alive, and those are the big damage dealers. But it's a triple kill for the Gwen. Maryville end up on top. A quadra kill for Niles as Maryville knocking on the door of the Fear's base.
And it's really incredible because, again, beginning of the game, Niles got solo killed by Dragoon. We were a little bit worried. Skirmishes start coming through. We talked about APA from last week, really, really getting in touch with the victor. But the focus does not matter. You have to kill 3 full damage dealers, and the Cataclysm is shutting Sketch out of fights. Impossible to play out if you're Cincinnati Fear. Just get completely run through. Maryville understanding how to team fight from very early in this game and taking it to Cincinnati Fear very quickly.
A short, sweet, but rather dominant victory coming out from Maryville University. Big shout out to Sketch. Nearly was able to turn some of those fights around, especially towards the end there. But at the end of the day, it seems to be a lot of the problems that we were talking about for Cincinnati Fear. You have all these pieces that end up trying to do their own things, but when it comes down to the team fights, Maryville just seemed like the better coordinated team at the moment.
Yeah, it was a matter of like they weren't really able to unlock Sketch in any fight, except for the one where they had Lilia. They had like a flash Q. It set up a pretty nice ultimate from Blaze. And when those pieces come together, it looks nice from the side of Cincinnati Fear. We know how good they can be. They got to put their comp around, picking some kind of identity. That one felt like it was a little all over the place, and that they really, really counted on Twitch doing all of the damage and getting the door shut in his face time and time again with that Cataclysm was horrible for things. I want to see them with a little more setup inside of a game like this. Maryville, I think, was perfectly comfortable with how that game played out. Their bot lane maybe died a few too many times to the early shenanigans of the Twitch Yomi, but outside of that, I don't think you're really having too much of an issue anywhere else. The entire top side played phenomenal League of Legends.
Well, there still are a lot of avenues for Fear to try to turn this around. We saw the bright spot there in Sketch. A lot of the other players had their moments as well, specifically Dragoon as well, up in the top side of the map. This time, Cincinnati will get all 5 of their bans as well to try to maybe get a little bit more advantages for themselves here in the draft, but that's going to be a tough hill to climb against, again, one of the mainstays of collegiate League of Legends. We're going to send it over to the desk to try and see that game and how it was broken down. Janira, take it away.